Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today we are going to create a mixed media ghost painting. For materials, you'll want a watercolor paper. I'm using 140 pound and this is 6 by 9 inch paper that I just cut in half to kind of have a little square here. For the watercolor portion, the brushes I'm using are a number 12 and a number 6 round brush, but you can use any size really. And for the watercolor palette, we're using a cerulean blue, a dark blue, brown, and gold metallic. I'm also going to be using a watercolor pencil in black for some of the detailing, as well as an artist pen in white. We'll also be using gold acrylic paint, and additionally, pencil sharpener for the watercolor pencil, and of course, water and paper towels. Oh, and a filbert brush for the gold acrylic painting. All right, let's get started on this ghost. We're going to lay down our watercolor first. So I'm going to take my number 12 round brush, get some water on it, and I'm going to start with that bright blue, or I think this is kind of like a cerulean blue. Get a little bit of that on my brush, and we're going to just start making our ghost in the middle third, the center middle third of our paper here. So I'm going to start at the bottom and make a sloping stroke upward, almost like you're painting the outline of a hillside. So I made like 4 main strokes there, and I'm just coming back with a little more diluted color. And then I'm going to switch over to my darker blue here and do the same kind of stroke, just working up, up, up. And then I'm going to round off the top here too, so we can start to shape our ghost a little bit more. So right now our ghost is very blue, so I'm going to add a little brown, and I'm going to start at the top and just blend that down on the sides. I'll also lightly blend some brown right down the middle, and notice how it's kind of muting that blue. And this is good because we want a sort of off-white ghost with subtle highlights and coloring. We also want subtle texture, so I'm taking care to blend the colors but also leave a few prominent streaks. Now I'm going to take my paper towel and lift the color from the ghost. And you can see how much closer we are to off-white because, we've lifted some of that pigment out of there. Now our ghost still looks a little too blue, so I'm going to add some more brown in like we did before on the sides and down the middle and just blend it a little bit. Notice how with just a little bit of brown, it's looking a lot more neutral and a lot less blue, but it is a little dark. So I'm going to lift the color again, and there we go. That's the off-white color that we're looking for. Now I'm running a light amount of water over the ghost just to smooth out some of those areas that have a little extra concentrated color. Next, we'll take the watercolor pencil to make the ghost's eyes. I like to dip my watercolor pencil directly in the water sometimes to soften the pigment. And so for the eyes, just make 2 circles toward the top of the ghost's body. It's pretty straightforward. And it's kind of fun because depending on the shape of the eyes, you can make it look kind of expressive. So if you want to, you can play around with that. Today, I'm just making 2 regular old circular eye holes. All right, I'm satisfied with the eye holes. Now I'm going to take my round brush, load it with water, and tap that water into the eye holes. And what this is going to do is this is going to make the black pigment bleed out around the eyes. From here, I'm going to continue to use my round brush to blend out that color bleed using downward strokes. Think about how fabric would fall. So that's the same kind of stroke you want to use when you're blending. I find that using the color bleed in this way is perfect because it doesn't make the ghost too dark, but it does subtly build color and add shadow. All right, I'm satisfied with the foundation for this ghost, but I am going to go back in with the watercolor pencil and round out the eyes a little bit since I did bleed out a lot of the edges. Okay, next we're going to add some clouds to the bottom of this ghost. It's like it's floating in on some ethereal fog. So for this, I'm grabbing my round brush and just dabbing some water at the bottom of the ghost. And using the same blues and browns that I used for the ghost, I'm going to tap those into the water. So I started with the cerulean blue. Now I'm tapping in that darker blue. And next I'm going to do the brown and just tap that in here and there. I'm going to keep tapping until the colors are pretty well blended. This is going to be the foundation for our clouds. Then I'll introduce a little more pigment. On top of that, we'll do wet and wet. So we'll have pockets of gray, pockets of color, and I'm gonna add some brown in here too. And that's gonna mix with, it's kind of a yellow brown, so when it mixes with the blue, it creates this deep green color. Next, I'm gonna take my paper towel and I'm gonna lift most of this color. By doing this, we get a great foundation with some highlights, shadow, and subtle texture. From here, we're going to repeat the same step from before where we tap in color around the clouds. For this layer, we're subtly building color and texture. So I'm not using quite as much color as I did before because I'm not planning on doing a color lift. Okay, so we're not quite done with the clouds. We do have another finishing touch, but we need to let it dry first. So while the clouds are drying, let's make a frame for this ghost. To do this, I'm going to grab my watercolor pencil and make an arch around the ghost. One trick I like to ensure that my arch is even is that I start in the middle and make an arc down one side and then an arc down another side to ensure that the top is where I need it to be. Next, I'm going to trace around the ghost, and then I'm just going to fill in this whole area around the ghost in the archway. All right, the archway is filled in, so I'm going to grab my round brush, load it with water, and start smoothing out this color. Now, I lightly shaded in my archway with black, so it's not going to be like a matte black color behind the ghost. And for me, that's okay because I think it kind of reflects a natural variation in the sky. This is going to be a starry sky. But if you want heavier coverage, just apply the color more heavily. Okay, while the archway dries, we're going to finish up our clouds. For this, I'm using my number 6 round brush, loading it with water and gold metallic paint, and I'm tapping that gold metallic into the clouds to create some sparkly highlights. And I really love this glittery gold metallic because it adds very subtle color and very subtle texture. And it seems like such a small detail, but sometimes I feel like it makes or breaks a piece. But that's my opinion. I'm curious, do you like to paint with metallics? Let me know in the comments. Okay, the clouds are complete, but it looks like the archway is still drying. So we'll take this time right now to detail our ghost. We're going to be using the artist's pen to make long downward strokes over the white parts of the ghost. Not only will this add subtle highlights to the off-white color of the ghost, but it's also going to add subtle texture variation because this is ink and we're putting it over the top of watercolor. So naturally the texture is a little bit different. And I think that's one of my favorite things about mixed media pieces actually is that when you're working with different mediums, naturally you're gonna have different textures, and that just adds so much depth and dimension to an art piece, and it really makes it come alive. Okay, Ghosty is done, and it looks like the background is dry. So we're just going to continue to use the artist pen and dot in some stars. You can make big, small, whatever you like. I do tend to like to go over my stars twice just to make them a little bit brighter. But you can play around with that too. You can have some really bright and some kind of fade into the background a little bit. Just have fun with it. starry background is complete. So next and finally, we're gonna paint a little gold frame around all of this. So can you tell this is my gold acrylic paint pan? All right, I'm gonna take some of that gold paint on the filbert brush and keep this very simple. I'm just painting small C's along the outer edge of the archway. And we're gonna do one pass, and then we're gonna go back and do it again just to make it a little darker. Or you can keep it lighter if you like that look, but I wanted a more solid color, so I'm gonna make a second pass. And as I'm finishing up, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. If you've liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to know about any new shorts or long form videos or community posts, hit the notification bell. And you can stay current on all the happenings on the channel. As always, thank you so much for creating with me today. Until next time, take care.